Hi.
Hi.
Again, here we are again.
We're here.
For another episode.
And today we're talking about help your kids with grief.
Yeah. Big topic.
Big topic.
We probably can't do it justice in this amount of time. However, we really thought it was a key one to bring in.
Absolutely.
I know that parents struggle with, again, it's always like parents struggle with this, parents struggle with that.
Yeah.
But that's reality of it. It's really tricky to know how to deal with grief. What's the best approach? How do you talk to your kids about grief? How to deal with it yourself, let alone supporting your family. But also we want to touch upon grief in its widest sense as well. Yeah. So should we start there with it being widest sense?
I think so. And also, again, normalising, like we always say, it's normalising that even the word grief can fill people with that sense of dread and fear of going, no, I don't want to talk about that. Mm-hmm. And even feeling in their body like, no, I'm good. I don't want to approach that topic. Yeah. But this is why we're covering all of these topics, is because we want people to start to feel a bit more comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I think with grief we know that grief is obviously connected to that deepest sense of grief when we sadly lose someone we love, and that our experience of grief will be unique. Yeah. And it'll be very individual. And again, there's no rule book for grief.
No. And it's almost like no matter, all the books I have read on grief are all about it's individual.
Yeah, it is.
You find your own way.
Yeah.
It might look like this. It might not. Yeah. You might stay in this kind of emotional state for a while. You might not. It's like
it is
like okay. Yeah. So really, I still don't know anything.
Yeah. And it is just, again, self-compassion and self-care are the biggest things with grief.
Definitely.
Because you do not know from 1 second to the next, 1 minute to the next minute, how you're going to feel.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you might be being able to cope. You might be in the supermarket. You might be thinking, yeah, I can do this. And then all of a sudden, you need to just leave your shopping and go. Yeah. Or, go home or go for a walk or do whatever it is. And I think that's the biggest thing to say, just look after yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. That's if anything, if we just stopped it there, that'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if we look at how grief is pretty much everywhere, every change will have an element of grief to it. And I think sometimes there's so much focus, and we will come on to this in terms of grief through the loss of someone, but in the widest sense, grief is about change. It is about your emotional reaction to life changing. Absolutely. And having to adapt to that. And that can be really, really tricky. So it can be very similar feeling. Sometimes people don't recognise that grief can be in the everyday changes.
Yeah. There's a huge misconception that grief is only to do with death.
Yeah.
And even saying that word, can again make you think, oh no, that's a really difficult topic. But we can grieve any change. With any transition that we go through, there will, like you said, be an element of grief.
Yeah.
Because with everything you're gaining, there'll be the new and you'll be adapting to a new normal, but you will be losing something. Mm-hmm. Whether that's loss of routine, structure, connections with other people within that group, a part of yourself, your identity. And this is what sometimes can feel a bit confusing. Like, I've chosen to change my house. I've chosen to change my job. I've chosen not to go to that group anymore.
Yeah,
but
chosen to end a relationship.
Exactly. I've chosen it. So why am I feeling sad? Why have I got this horrible feeling in my stomach when it's my choice? I shouldn't be feeling like it. Yeah. But you are allowed to grieve because you're losing something, even in a change that is your choice.
Yeah, and that can feel really weird though.
Yeah, really weird.
To go, I've made these changes. I know I've made them for the better. Yeah. And yet I still feel a sense of loss.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is, of course you will. Why would you not?
Yeah. And with kids as well, parents can sometimes see that their child is sad or they're anxious or they're worried about change, and they will feel probably uncomfortable about that, and they want them to feel better and they want them to be happy again. But actually the response, if it's connected to change, is grief.
Yes.
It's often grief. They are sad.
It's the normal response.
It is. It's a normal, valid response. And even anger, is connected to grief.
Yeah.
And normally beneath anger, there's grief. There's loss.
Yeah.
Of something.
Do you know when I think it's really poignant for kids, and we don't necessarily think of it in this way, but when they're changing schools or even when they're going up through the years, and they've really loved that teacher, or they really like that classroom they loved, or that TA, and then suddenly they've got to change.
Yeah.
And that's a really big deal. So, you know, and I see this a lot really, when people say, right, we're going to take the hit of potentially getting a fine for missing the last week of school.
Yeah.
But that's what we're going to do. We're going to go on holiday. We're going to miss the last week of school. It doesn't really matter. And, of course, there's lots of reasons why people might want to do that. But for me, seeing the end of something, marking the end, is a really important part of change and grief. And your kid will really benefit, even if you are scooping them out of school on that last week for whatever reason. Really let them say farewell to that teacher. Don't let it be a surprise. It's really important, because there's that transition from one year to the next, or one school to the next. It's massive.
It's huge. And and endings are such an important part of grief.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we don't get a choice.
Yeah.
And kids generally don't get to choose, because they are guided by the adults who look after them, whether that's teachers or parents. And they need to have an ending, and they need to be informed about what that ending looks like, but also have the opportunity to say what they want it to look like. You know, if they aren't going to their leavers party, or they're not having their ending celebration at school, then they will need to have an ending of some kind. So like you say, saying goodbye to the teacher, marking it with their friends, you know, because the transition that they're going to then go into doesn't have that transition point. It's just one's stopped and the other one started before you've got a chance to process what's actually happened.
Yeah.
And with anything we do, we're actually working towards an ending.
Yes.
You know, and that's
nothing's permanent, is it?
No, exactly. So you start in 1 year group, you're already working towards the next term, and then finally the ending with that teacher. And that in itself can feel sad. And it's not about focusing on the ending all the time, but it is about being able to connect with the emotions that you have when you go through any transition.
Yeah, and being aware of that, you know, any kind of difference that comes up for your kid at school.
Yeah.
A teacher leaving, or new, you know, and anything, a change in a timetable, or this can, you know, don't underestimate where that won't get a feeling of grief going. It's pretty likely that it will.
It will, because as human beings, that is a part of the change that we will naturally grieve. And that grief can come out as, like I said, anger. It might be they're more snappy. It might be they're more withdrawn. It might be that they're more kind of, I don't know, they come across more like engaged in other things. It can come across different ways. But there will be an element of grief in some way.
Yeah, that feeling of loss, it's really important to acknowledge it, to mark it in some way. You know, I've always been a big believer in that kind of, like I say, that end of term or end of school year stuff.
Yeah.
I really remember, though, the leaver ceremonies that they do from primary school going up to secondary. Oh, my God.
It's
so we're just like, for all the parents, all of us sat there going, oh my God, it's so emotional.
So sad for parents because that's been your routine, that's been your human connection with other parents, and it's great to mark that and have that
really
time together.
Important.
Really important, because it's the end of an era, it's the end of that chapter. And again, moving on to secondary school, we know the dynamic with parent-child, teacher relationship is very different.
So different.
And you can grieve what was. You can grieve, well, it used to be different. And even with your children growing up, you know, you will naturally feel grief about them getting older.
Oh, my God, so much.
That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
That they maybe don't need you as much, or one day they're going to go off to university, or they're going to leave home, or and you might find you're looking at pictures, or you're looking at...
Have you been watching me through the...
Oh, have you been watching me?
Honestly, I do that all the time. I'm like, oh, look at how little they were.
I know. And you see little baby feet, and you think, oh, mine were like that. But it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, it's normal.
You know, we want people to grow up. We want people to grow old. We want them to live their life. But it's okay to feel sad.
Yeah.
Or other feelings. It's okay to feel whatever that change is naturally bringing you.
Yeah. So like across these podcasts, what we're saying is it's normal. These normal feelings.
Yeah.
So if you can already have conversation about what loss might feel like, and that it's important to mark it in some way, whether that's a loss through change or a loss through losing someone, the importance is to have the conversations around it. So if we're thinking about grief in the more specific setting of losing someone, I think that it's really important for parents to kind of dispel the myth that kids are too young to understand. I hear that and I'm like, they're not.
I hear that a lot, and we hear that a lot, don't we, working with families, because parents will want to protect their children. They will want to remove any situation that is potentially going to make them feel difficult feelings, including sadness. And sometimes, again, an old belief can be they're too young to go to a funeral. They're too young to see people cry. We don't want them to be around people who are, really emotionally distressed, because that's going to make them sad, and I don't want them to be sad. But if we do that, we run the risk of removing their opportunity to grieve. And then what can happen is if they don't see people grieve, it's never been modelled to them. So
and then how do you learn?
Exactly. We only learn to grieve by what's been modelled to us. And even as parents, you will be able to connect with how grief was modelled to you, and what's now then difficult.
If you think as parents, how have your family shown you how to grieve? So like anything, we have to be careful about what we pass on. And if you've recognised that there's been for you as a parent a bit of awkwardness around looking at grief, or just not spoken about at all, or you've held some of those beliefs about kids shouldn't be exposed to grief, or they shouldn't do that, now's your chance. Now's your chance to change that. Disrupt that cycle. You don't have to pass it on. You can deal with this differently. So if you're facing grief, whether it's anticipated or you're in it at the minute, have the conversations.
Have the conversations.
It's totally okay to talk about how it feels to lose someone.
And if your child is sad, which I would say it is likely that they will be sad if you're talking about grief, it's okay to say, it's okay to be sad. I'm sad. It's okay for us to say that we are struggling, that we are sad, that I'm feeling frustrated that this has happened.
Or I'm missing someone.
I'm missing missing seeing them. And even if you're grieving somebody that maybe wasn't your favourite person in the world, you can still feel sad. You can still miss them.
That can be really complicated, can't it? Because families often are complicated. And it's okay to go, they might have done my head in. But I do still kind of miss them.
It's okay.
It's having those conflicting feelings in the same pot. And being able to go, they did my head in. Or this, I didn't really like that about them, but I still really miss. I still feel like the grief is real for me. So it's all right to explain how that feels in that messy, clunky way.
The messy clunkiness is a big part of it, isn't it? And again, it's just trying to sit as comfortably as possible with it. But just thinking about funerals and, thinking children are too young and they shouldn't go because we don't want them to be sad. Actually, people sometimes aren't aware that children are really good at grieving. They are like experts in grieving, because what children will do, because they haven't got a lot of the stresses that adults have with money and jobs and doing the housework and things like that, they will purely be experiencing emotions from the moment. So 1 minute they might be really sad about the grief, and you might think, oh my goodness, this child is in emotional distress. The pain is horrendous. I can't bear to see this. I can't imagine how this is ever going to get easier. And then somebody comes to the door, they hear something, they see something on the telly, someone passes them a toy, and they've bounced into, oh, I'm happy, I'm playing, I'm laughing. And as an adult, you can be left feeling, oh my goodness, what is going on? I can't work this out. Is this a different person? But it's because they've puddle jumped, and that's what we call it. They puddle jump. That
phrase, I love that phrase. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah. So puddle jumping is where we kind of jump through the different feelings. So 1 minute they could be feeling sad. 1 minute they could be feeling quite happy and content. 1 minute they might be intensely angry, and they puddle jump.
Yes.
Whereas what typically adults do, we stay in a puddle for longer.
Oh, we do love a puddle.
Because the puddle is consuming, and we can't get out the puddle. And there's lots of other factors that we are trying to manage. So just reassuring parents out there and adults that remove the expectation and the pressure off yourself that you've got to protect children from grief.
Yes.
We need to allow them to have the opportunity to grieve.
Yeah. And it can be really hard though, can't it?
Really hard.
Because you kind of want to go, what is the right thing to do? You know, if you've got a funeral coming up, for example, what's the right thing to do? Do they go to the funeral? Do they not? What I don't know quite how to pitch it. Obviously, if it's someone really important to them, you're still going to go, but should they go to a funeral? Yeah. Should they not? If it's a family member that they didn't perhaps have much of a connection with, you're still going to have that debate.
Of course.
And again, I always wish I could go, and this is the right answer, but I don't have the right answer.
And with anything that we discuss, there is no right and wrong. It's about naturally what feels right. But I think the most important thing is to have the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, if you sit down with your child, your children, and explain what they might expect at a funeral.
Yes.
So that they are going to see people that are maybe crying. They may see people sad. They may see people hugging each other. But what we know about emotions is they do pass. So the whole day won't be consumed with sadness.
Yes.
There'll be elements of happiness and joy and people retelling stories and, you know, connecting with the parts of that person that they loved. And that's what most funerals will include. Yeah. And that there will be people talking about all sorts of things.
It's the most puddle jumpy celebration of someone's life.
It is.
Ever, isn't it? It is. A funeral. You're constantly going from like laughing, and then you can feel really guilty for laughing, can't you? You
feel so guilty. You can think, why am I laughing? This is a really
How
sad
dare I
day.
laugh? But actually, that laughing is a normal part of grief.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's about celebration of that person.
Yeah.
And another important message that I always try and give people is grief is love in disguise.
Yes, of course it is.
It is, because if you are grieving really, really deeply, it's because you had so much love.
Yeah, that's the cost of loving someone, isn't it?
It is.
It is. You know, if you really love someone, grief's going to hit you hard, but hasn't that been wonderful that you've been able to love them?
Yeah.
So
and had that opportunity.
Yeah.
And then if you talk to children about the funeral, they might still say, actually, I don't want to go.
Yeah,
and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah. Do you know, I remember as a family when we'd lost someone and taking the kids to a funeral, and just the whole, there's a dead body in there. And I'm like, yeah, there will be. Will there be a dead body there? Yeah, there will be. And just going, that's the facts. The facts are this. Yeah. And that might bring up lots of different feelings for you. But I'm not going to hide away from the fact that there is going to be a dead body there.
No.
And it can be a really, you know, and the kid's like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't know. And like talking them through of like, this is what happens. And the body will be carried in by this. And then it will happen this. And then there might be hymns, or there might be songs, or there might pictures, and just that was so useful to be able to explain. This is the process of what happens at a funeral. And I've recalled countless times when I've worked with kids professionally who haven't been told that. And they're like, I didn't know what to expect. And then suddenly I was at this thing and
and what we know about kids is they will come to their own conclusion.
Yes.
They will formulate their own truth. So what we need to do as adults, we need to give them the facts in an age-appropriate way.
Yes.
And if it's to do with the body, we use words connected to the body and medical terms and health, because actually a child thinking there's a dead body there, but they can still feel and their heart's still beating is very different. So informing them of the facts.
Yes.
And the medical side of, you know, if your heart stops, the body isn't working. There's no feelings. There's no, you know, and people will have different cultures, different beliefs.
Of course.
But it's really important to give them the facts, because else children will just come up with their own truth.
Yeah. It can be really confusing for kids around language as well.
Yeah.
About what language means for loss. And I've got to share this because it's something that really does my head in. I have a really strong reaction to when people describe it as that person has gone to sleep. Because I'm like, they're not asleep.
Yeah.
And that can be really confusing for kids who need that facts. Because sometimes it can be really unhelpful for a kid to think sleep equals death.
Yeah.
And we have to, it's kind of just being really mindful of, if that's a phrase that you use, you know, I'm not here to say, right now you've got to beat yourself up if you've used it. I'm saying for me, that gives me the ick.
Yeah.
Gives me the ick.
Because you will know how that can impact.
Yeah. Because
Kids'
they've not gone to sleep.
Of it. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like then the conclusion is sleep equals death.
Yes.
It's like sometimes we might, and this is all with trying to protect kids, isn't it? We say these words because we're trying to protect them from pain. It's like we might say, oh, so-and-so was poorly and then they died or they passed away. But somebody could have a cold and be poorly. Somebody at school could be poorly.
Or mummy's feeling a bit poorly today. That doesn't mean that they're going to die.
And I think it's then just trying to, you know, have those conversations to go, this is actually what we mean.
Yes. Like even the term someone's passed away, like explaining that as a term. There's a really funny thing around language and death, isn't there? And so I just go, just think carefully and check out understanding at whatever age they're at. Yeah. But obviously make sure it's age appropriate, but you're going to know your kids.
Yeah.
So what language will they understand? What might you need to really explain to them? And you might get the same questions over and over again. You might get the repeated. So does that mean this then? Are they actually dead? What happens when this thing? And you might just have to be very pragmatic about it. Yeah. It's like the whole thing around whether someone is buried or cremated. I mean, that whole thing, when you're trying to explain it, it can... And especially if you're going through that grief as well, it can be really hard for you as a parent to get your head around it as well. Yeah. So it's kind of trying to do both the parent and the kid a favour of just be transparent about it if that's the appropriate thing to do.
Being transparent, using the correct language, and just, you know, as well thinking if adults having conversations about how somebody has died, you know, and you're trying to protect your child from that, they may overhear something, they may pick up one word and it can be misinterpreted.
Totally.
And they can then believe that something is going to kill somebody that actually isn't. So again, giving them information, I think, is the key takeaway. Giving them some kind of information rather than not giving them anything and then they don't know what's happened.
Yeah, and I suppose I always cautious around the underestimating what your kid can tolerate in terms of information. Yeah. Like I say, as parents, you know your kids. Yeah. But I always think, sometimes just being totally straightforward in your thinking can be really useful. Yeah. And there's I just want to put a little bit in about kind of anticipated loss. Yeah. And if there is loss coming up, that's a really tricky thing.
It is,
to deal with. Yeah. Like how on earth do you prep your child for the loss of a parent or a sibling or someone that's significant to them? That is so hard.
So hard. And again, sometimes as a family member looking out for that child or a parent, you know, you want to get them that professional help. It can be a kind of a panic, urgent response of this really difficult thing is going to happen, so I need to get them some help now. Yeah. But what I always say to people with any kind of grief is just having a space to share, just having a space to feel heard, to express how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And that, again, with anticipated grief, there's going to be moments where you are deeply sad and you're worried and you're anxious, but there will be glimmers.
There will be.
And it's okay to have them.
Yeah.
So just having that space where, again, you can just keep checking in.
Yeah. I think it's really, really useful. So look after yourselves.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate the kind of practical side of what your kid might need to know.
Yeah.
And keep the conversations going.
Yeah.
These are tricky topics, but I predict you're going to have to face them at some point with your kids.
Every single person is going to experience grief in their lifetime.
We know that is a reliable thing.
Yeah, and we have to have the tools. We have to feel equipped to manage the grief. And if it's never been modelled to us and we've never had the opportunity to, we don't know what to do.
Yeah. So, just look after yourself.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've covered what we want to cover.
Yeah. I'm really pleased we've been able to talk about this.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. And it's, again, like we've said on many of these episodes, we won't always get it right. So accept it that it's messy.
Yeah, and it's okay to not have the answers.
Yeah. Cup of tea.
Yeah, I think
definitely
definitely need a cup of tea.